Hello and welcome everyone to the series called Courageous Conversations Over Coffee. It's sponsored by the South Coast Interfaith Council. And through this series, we hope to bring you a glimpse into the lives of people who are truly courageous, meeting the challenges of the current situation with creativity, grace, generosity, and hope. And my name is Marietta Fong. I'm a member of the board of the council, and I belong to the Rolling Hills United Methodist Church here in the South Bay in Los Angeles. And we've heard from some really wonderful people throughout this series. We've learned about some of their struggles. We've found inspiration in these intimate and honest conversations. And today we're focusing on musicians' responses to COVID-19 and how artists are facing the pandemic. Our guest is Jody Siegel, a well-known singer, songwriter, and guitarist, and we'll hear a bit more about Jody in a few minutes. And first, we'll have a few tips from Cheryl, the council's able administrative person, about conducting a successful conversation in Zoom. Cheryl?
Okay. Can everybody see my screen?
Oh, wow. I wonder what happened.
You can see it? Okay. All right. So we're Zooming today. So we're going to ask that everybody except for Marietta and Jody to be muted. And if you want to ask any questions, you can put them in the chat box to Marietta, and she will then relay them to Jody. Or you can raise your hand. If you see down at the bottom of the screen, there's a little button that says raise your hand. So you can do that as well. If any of you are, want better video representation, then try putting a light in front of you and not having a bright light behind you, because that tends to make your face very dark. And we are recording this session today, so be patient with us. We're still learning all the ins and outs of Zoom. So that's where we're at.
Thank you, Cheryl. So the program will be about 45 minutes, and we'll have some conversation with Jody. And then during a Q&A section near the end, you'll have the opportunity to send questions. And you can send them to me, as Cheryl mentioned, via the chat box located down at the bottom of your screen. Now, if you're looking at this in gallery view and you'd like to look at it in speaker view, you might want to do that. That's probably up near the top of your screen. So let's get started. I want to introduce you to Jodi Siegel. She is a singer, songwriter, and guitarist, and she was born in Chicago, Illinois, the home of the blues. Since coming to California some time ago, she's been playing and singing in countless blues, R&B, pop, and original music bands throughout the LA area. And over the years, Jody has opened for or shared the stage with many respected musicians such as Albert King, Robin Ford, Chris Christopherson, David Lindley, and countless others. She's performed at the Coach House, St. Rock, the Lighthouse, the Mint, McCabe's, and many other venues throughout LA, San Diego, and Orange County, in addition to touring across the United States and overseas, all while honing her own brand of blues, pop, R&B, and jazz. And as a professional musician for many years, Jody is also an amazing slide guitar player with a bluesy, soulful, and mellow vocal style. So, hey, Jody.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for having me. I love the waving. We're like doing the wave,
That's great. Well, Jody, let's just ask you if you can tell us in your own words a bit about yourself, something about your story, where some of the places that you've played that were some of your favorites or special experiences.
Okay, I would love to. I'm like you said, I'm from Chicago. My whole family is musical. My dad wrote industrial musicals and jingles. You might remember 7 Up Your Thirst Away. Remember that one? And it's really showing our age now, right? And anyway, they did a documentary on him called Bathtubs over Broadway that you can see on Netflix. I think you'll get a kick out of it. A lot of uh, actors and actresses and singers and writers got their start doing these because they paid really well, and in fact, they paid more than full-blown musicals back in the 60s, 70s, and early 80s. So it's an unknown genre, and that Steve Young, who wrote for the David Letterman show, kind of found in a bargain bin of my dad's record called My Bathrooms, about bathrooms, a bathroom company. And anyway, it's a long story, but I think you'll enjoy the documentary Bathtubs over Broadway. But I've been out here, gosh, longer than I was in Chicago now. So, and I came out to go to Orange Coast College, and I immediately started playing in bands 6 nights a week. And there went Orange Coast College. I quit doing that and just started working as a musician, and, moved to Laguna Beach, which is had a really good music scene back then. And a lot of the same people that I know today are still there making music. A lot of the Kenny Loggins band at the time was living down there. And anyway, it was a great community. And then I moved up to Glendale for a while and all over LA, always playing music and, figuring out, playing in cover bands and then figuring out my voice. And then the whole time I've been doing opening slots for concerts. Like you said, I opened for Albert King at the Coach House. The Coach House down in Orange County, I don't know if you've ever been down there. It's a great place to see people. And I recently opened for Jody Siegel. He wrote a lot of the Eagles songs, and for members of Little Feat, probably my favorite band, Paul Barrere, who recently passed late last year, and Fred Tackett. So I've always been doing that, but I've also played, restaurants and private events, and that's what you do as a musician. You just like any independent contractor in any genre, you do a bunch of different things and call that your schedule. You know what I mean? And so I've been grateful that I've been able to make a living at this for a very, very long time. And I'm super grateful for it. And, writing songs and meeting people, and it's been wonderful, really.
Yeah, you do. You have to patch it together a bit and just keep as busy as you can. And then that gives you a chance to do, I assume, what you really love in whatever way you can find to do it that makes sense.
Right. And I did have a few jobs that I got fired from, most of them, because I wasn't really supposed to do that. How you go through life and you go, oh, I better get a real job. And then, if it doesn't work out, you might want to ask yourself, am I supposed to be doing this? No, so, and then when I decided to do music full time, then it all seemed to fall into place better. Obviously you have to make stuff happen. Some people have been blessed to be session musicians, but I've never been that way. I've always formed my own bands and gotten my own gigs and everything. I've never really been a session singer or a session guitar player or a session anything. So I was always the lead person. So I kind of had to make it happen. But again, it's been a real adventure of all kinds of gigs, playing for all kinds of things, because I'll do dang near anything.
Well, Jody, we're just really glad that you're doing what you're doing, because you've given some wonderful gifts to us. I mean, your music is so down to earth and honest and original, and just it flows, and I could go on for a long time. I'm one of your fans, but let me ask you, what often serves as inspiration for a song that you write? Could you maybe even give us an example or describe a song and what inspired it? Or
Well, I think anyone who writes, even if they don't do it professionally, I mean, you get an idea. I mean, where do ideas come from? They come out of nowhere. They come out of what someone said,
Hmm.
you know, a phrase that you hear in a movie or something, you know, something you read in the paper or you read in a book, and then you keep it in your mind. I mean, I write everything down, you know. Are they all great ideas? No, they're not, you know. I mean, because you got to work through them, you know. You got to, like, sometimes I'll think I just wrote the best song I ever wrote, and I'll go to bed a happy camper. And I'll wake up the next day and listen and I go, this may be the worst song I've ever written, you know, but there may be a few lines in there that I really like. So I will save it and go back to it and borrow from it for another song, you know, or co-write it with somebody else. That's the beauty of co-writing, that, you know, then it's not just you're getting myopic and not communicating. I think, you know, the thing for me is I want to say things that everyone thinks or feels, and so that it changes their lives. Like when I was listening to my favorite writers or whatever, I mean, it changed my life. It moved me greatly. So that's kind of what I'm going for. And there's so many. I don't know how people can't come up with ideas, because I think there's so much information out there. And I'm not talking online. I just think in the world, people people are interesting. People are interesting.
Life is interesting, and
Yeah,
life throws all kinds of things at you, and
yeah.
then you look at your responses and you think about the effects on you, and you think, oh, that might relate to somebody else I know out there who's going through this. And
And
yeah.
you know, the difficult times. I mean, do we necessarily need a song when everything's going well? Yeah, I guess we do, but I think people look for songs when things aren't going as well, to kind of figure out. I mean, for me, I can almost use it as my own psychotherapy to figure out my life, and you know, and uh, and then as it turns out, most people have similar experiences, and then it touches them as well. So.
Mhm. Well, talk about difficult situations. Maybe you can tell us about what your life was like before all this pandemic, or projects that you were working on, and what kind of changes have you had to cope with because of that. What's going on with you with all this?
Well, you know, like I said, I did a lot of things. I teach guitar. I would go to people's houses and teach kids and adults guitar and ukulele, you know, so I did that. And then I played gigs. I played concerts. I played restaurants. I mean, everything but a hayride I've been playing. And, you know, and then I, within the course of 2 days, all the gigs that I had on the calendar were canceled when it hit the fan. You know what I mean? I got calls and calls and emails. You know, sorry, we can't, blah, blah, blah. And of course, I mean, it was shocking to me, you know. And but again, yeah, I was always grateful before. If you have to find gratitude even in this time, I mean, because otherwise you're just stuck in the problem, feeling sorry for yourself. And there's always somebody way worse off than you are.
That's honestly one of the things about your music that just really touches me, is that you always seem to come right to the core of a situation and find either the most poignant or the most hopeful and grateful aspect of it.
Well,
So I
thank
love that.
you. Thank you. I try to do that, and I try to also make people laugh about it, you know, because we're human, and you know, we say the wrong thing, we do the wrong thing, you know, but then we learn something from it, you know, and you know, it's human nature to make mistakes. And you know, I mean, you know, if you keep making the same mistakes, you know the saying about that. So the lesson repeats over and over. So, But, you know, not every song is going to, you know, solve world peace or anything. You also want to have love songs, regular love songs. And I mean, on my new record, I have a song about barbecue. So it's not like I'm that deep where I'm, you know, so.
I was just thinking about that when you said something about a little bit of humor and you've got to step back from the situation. I thought, yeah, like Jody's song about barbecue. It's the first one that came to mind.
Yes. I mean, because, you know, it's funny because songwriters are so, uh, I don't know, they're pretty heady and you know, they want to share their most intimate, thoughtful songs with you. But the one song everyone requests is the barbecue one. You know, it's like, no, we, we, we like those other songs, but that barbecue song, that's my favorite one. It makes me laugh every time.
Oh, man. So what about your colleagues? Have you been talking to your friends and other people, I'm sure, you know, in the music field, and are you seeing different situations, different responses, different reactions?
Well, yeah, I think the main one is that when all your gigs are gone, so is all your money, you know, your source of income. And like anyone who loses a job, it's you worry about it, you know. So if that's covered and you can, uh, you know, get by, then that's a huge burden off your shoulder. But I think that for a lot of my friends, they're still doing some online teaching things. Some of my students didn't want to do that because they want me to be there, but some of them did, so I do that. And you know, some of them are doing online concerts, which is, you know, it's all we have now to share music. You know, at least in this month, because we're going week to week and month to month to see. Also, I got a call to possibly do. This is kind of funny, but possibly do a concert at a drive-in. Remember drive-ins back in the day? You know, you put
Oh
the
my
thing on
goodness,
your car.
yeah.
Yeah. And so I got a call to possibly do one of those in Fullerton. I'll find out if it's actually happening. But I mean, we can all stay safe in our little, everyone's in their car with their party of friends and whatever, and have the music there. And you're on the stage where the screen is playing your show. And, but I think it'll start to come back. You know, like festivals are going to be are not happening. I mean, I was looking online for other things beside music. Sports like Wimbledon isn't going to happen. You know, anything that has that huge amount of people. I'm hoping that restaurants will start, you know, sticking the musician in the corner and not with a mask on. That would be a little weird, but you know, so they're away from people so they can still play. But I don't know what's going to happen, but I think all my friends are just figuring it out. And it's not like musicians haven't had to land on their feet after being pushed off the cliff 1,000 times and things don't work out. I think they're very resilient and they will find a way. I mean, I made this new CD. I don't know if you can see it. So I'll have to show it up to the.
Beautiful. Yeah, I have my own copy. It's fantastic.
Yeah, so it just came out. So of course, you know, promoting a CD in a pandemic, there's a new thing. But you know, I'm selling it at PayPal and it'll be on my website. I'm redoing my website, and I think people are doing things that they didn't have time to do before. You know, they're writing songs, they're figuring out how to do recording at their home. They're they'll figure it out. And I also think that on the other end of this, people are going to be so appreciative of music because they haven't been able to go to it. All the people, they go, I don't want to go out tonight and see, you know, anyone play. I want to stay home in my jammies with my clicker, you know. And I think they're going to go out. They're going to go, wow, we've been in the house for 6 months. Let's go out and hear some music and be with each other and get to share that again. Because you definitely miss things when they're gone. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So let me ask you, with all this uncertainty, um, how do you cope with it mentally and emotionally and spiritually? What do you do?
I just, I just try to be positive about it. I mean, I'm human. Some days I go, you know, if I cook one more meal, I'm gonna, if I'm, luckily I'm cooking for my son who eats a massive amount because 22-year-old boys, that's a lot of food, baby. But so I'm cooking for him, but I'm trying not to put on the COVID 15, 20 pounds. And, but I just try to, I'm very disciplined in getting up, keeping a schedule now. I'm basically a morning person. So I get up and do some kind of exercise, work on songs at 5 o'clock in the morning and just try to do what I would have done without the pandemic. How am I going to get my music out there? How am I going to look for gigs in this climate? How am I going to make that happen and be creative about it? Is it going to be, is it easy? Of course it's not easy, but is it easy for anyone else who's an independent contractor, whose livelihood depends on other people showing up to their gig? I mean, what about massage people? How can they, give you a massage now, you know?
So what, has there been anything that you've heard or read that's been encouraging or comforting?
Well, I'm always reading books, positive books, and I do a lot of new thought study and stuff like that. But I just think it's trying to not listen to that negative sound in your voice. This is the end of the world, and because you know what the end of the world is? The end of the world. This is not, it seems like the end of the world. It's the end of the world we knew, but I think it's going to be a better world. I think people are being kinder to each other, except for this terrible racial thing that's come up. But don't get me started on politics or,
So we have a couple of questions from the audience, and then I'll have a couple more for you near the end. One of them, somebody asked if you could share a few lines of your barbecue song for those of us that haven't heard it before.
Okay. I'll sing some. I'll be the drummer. I punch the clock 9 to 5, and when the weekend comes, it's in the nick of time. I need some slow comfort, not fast drive through. Everybody. Oh, 'cause I never get the blues when I'm eating barbecue. And like that. Yeah.
That was great. Thanks. Well, and they want you to make sure that you share your website so we can buy the CD if we want to.
That'd be great. Or you could, I wrote it down on this piece of paper.
Oh, great.
So if you can read my handwriting, which is, I have like a doctor's handwriting. But I'll show you, you can buy it at PayPal until I get my website up. Can you see that?
Oh, kind of.
Is it backwards? Yeah.
No, I don't think so. Hang on, let's see.
Well, I can just tell you what it is. It's paypal.me/Blue Tomato, BLUE Tomato, TOMATO music. And you can, if you send me $26, that'll include the shipping. And then I will send you the CD.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So one other question I had is, so for those of us who just love and need music in our lives, what can we do to be helpful to our friends who are musicians or our favorite musicians in general? I mean, what can we do right now that would just be helpful to you?
Well, buy their music, we're all sitting at home, and buy music to listen to. Don't get it free from Spotify. Actually buy it. Spotify, musicians and songwriters get like a quarter of a penny for everything that you play. They do not get paid. If you are getting the free service of Spotify or Pandora or any of that, they are not being paid. So actually buy the thing, buy the CD, if you still have a CD player in your house, because I know a lot of people don't have one anymore, but buy a bunch and drive around in your car and play them like crazy. Go on a road trip and do that, or start learning an instrument that they play and teach online. I teach ukulele and I teach guitar. Go decide, I think I'll get a little ukulele and learn some songs.
Well, that's a totally new idea. I had not thought about that. I mean, people are learning to do all kinds of things. They're trying to cook, they're learning new recipes, they're even learning languages. Didn't even think about learning an instrument or something with music online. How does that work anyway?
Well, in the same way that we're doing it right now. What I do for my students is we talk about what they want to learn, because I find if they play a song they like, they're more likely to want to do it. So then I will get them all the sheets they need, and I will scan them and send them to them prior to the lesson. So, depending on their age, like I have a 14-year-old and she wants to learn, Ed Sheeran songs and and then I always show them Beatles songs because I'm their teacher and they need to play those. But again, if you make it seem fun, it doesn't seem like they're learning something. Like I wish algebra was done to music, because it would be a heck of a lot more fun if it was musical and not algebra. But so do that, and if they're doing an online concert, tip them it's usually a PayPal or a Venmo post. Go to their website. My website is jodisiegel.com, JODISIEGEL.com. Go there and look around, and I mean, since this only happened two months ago, we're all kind of trying to figure it out. But that's a good way for musicians to stay in business, while we're waiting for things to open up, while festivals are going to open up again. I mean, I'm sure you know that the Hollywood Bowl is not happening.
Mm-hmm.
Hollywood Bowl will not happen this summer.
Wow.
Yeah. So all the musicians in those orchestras, all the musicians, all the crew and everything, so they are also struggling and having to figure out what they're going to do next. So, I mean.
Well, I tend to think of what I can get out of music online, because I go there to hear it and listen to it, and I feel so comforted and encouraged and inspired and energized. But I honestly didn't think about the flip side, about leaving a tip, and I didn't even know that was a part of the scenario. So I'm glad to know about that.
Yeah, well, online, in lieu of getting paid, if you worked an actual gig, music gig, you would get paid to do it. Just like any independent contractor. If someone came to your house and drained your sink, you would pay the plumber, and a musician is no different. So it's all job to job to job to job. So in lieu of the restaurant or concert hall paying you, you would tip them. Consider it like a huge tip jar, and just, put some money in there and help them out. I mean, you don't have to, give them $1 million, just,
Yeah, I know. I used to have concerts in my home and I would have the musicians come in and, maybe I'd pay them something, but they really were counting on those tips because
Right.
that's what made the big difference at the
Well,
end.
when I made the CD, I planned to have it come out, but all the concert things that I was going to do, all the house concerts, all of that got canceled. And so, I would been able to sell my CD at the venues. But because
Mhm.
the venues aren't happening, I'm having to think of how to do it. And I think it's what I have to do. So there's no point in whining about it. You know what I mean? I'm happy to figure it out and make it happen because I want people to hear this record. I mean, I think records take a long time, over a year to make. So you want to get it out there and share it with people. But luckily, it's not like milk where it goes bad. It'll still be good after the pandemic, but it would be cool to sell some prior to this year ending. And
Take a look at the chat box, Jody, because Cheryl typed in the website and can you find that down there and see if it's typed in there too?
do I hit
Just the little thing down at the bottom of your screen might say chat. And if you just pop it up, you should be able to see all the chats that have been going on there. And Cheryl sent a message to the group. And she said,
Yes, thank you.
is this the website?
Well, the first one, the PayPal.me Blue Tomato, there's no question mark at the end. It's PayPal, where to go? PayPal.me at Blue Tomato Music.
Can you type it in, Jody?
Another woman's site came up because she must have Blue Tomato, so I don't know how to get out of this.
Well, so that's when I went to that website.
Yeah,
what came up.
it's Blue Tomato Music.
Okay.
Yeah.
Try
And
typing it in, Cheryl, and see if Jody can double check it for us.
Yeah.
that's where you can buy the CD right now until my website has the link that you would just buy it directly from there.
Okay, great.
So how do we go about doing that? Do we put in a dollar amount or what's?
Yes, the amount for the CD with shipping is $26.
Okay.
And I will send you the CD and I'll send a little thank you note and then
You just log into PayPal.
yeah. So
What if you don't have a PayPal account?
then you could Zelle me the number, the money. Zelle, I don't know if you guys are familiar with that. It's bank to bank. A lot of people are doing it because it takes seconds to get to your bank. And then you would do that through my email. And I could put my email on here if you like. I can't write on here. I think only you can do that. But my email is jodani@verizon.net. But again, if you give me a couple weeks, it'll all be up on my website and
Yeah, we'll look for it there.
Yeah.
So I think, Cheryl, aren't we about ready to start just kind of wrapping up because we still have some announcements to make about next week and some things like that. But I just want to give you one final thought, and that is, well, music, to my mind, is really an essential part of life. And it's actually been said, he who sings prays twice. So I just want to ask you to keep on singing in your heart and looking for and listening to the music of those who really sing honestly, beautifully, and from the soul, like Jody.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So, and also if you can, those of us who are listening today and those of us who look at this on YouTube later, share the word about these courageous conversations. And so if you want to join us, just RSVP to the office at scinterfaith.org. And we also hope that you're finding these programs to be nourishing, thought-provoking, and inspirational. And we really would appreciate your support during these challenging times too. So if you're able, please go to our website, www.scinterfaith.org, and look for the donate button there. So Melia, did you have something that you wanted to say to the group if Melia's with us?
May I ask one question to Jody? Is there enough time for that?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
You know, Jody, one of the things that you talked about, and I love your attitude and your spirit, and I think it plays to, when I heard that bit, my husband loves barbecue. So just for that reason, I'm going to purchase that CD so I could play it for him. I mean, he could eat it breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and everything else. But I appreciate your attitude, and I think that's really important. But you touched upon this. There are a lot of people, obviously musicians, who are struggling a lot now.
Right.
Right, like all their gigs are, not only the present ones are canceled, but in the near future, and even as we're kind of loosening these restrictions, 20 people is not a lot of people in a concert that was used to hundreds of people, right?
Right.
I'm wondering, there's programs that the government is trying to do that's helping. I know for us in the nonprofit sector, we've been, just searching as much as we can about grants and things like that. Are there such things within kind of the music industry that allows for musicians? Because at the end of the day, I mean, it's, for some people, this is their livelihood solely, and, it's hurting and they need the finances.
Yeah, there are, but they have limited funds, and it's like 5,000 people for $100. I'm just using that as an example, and when the funds are gone, the funds are gone. So I know there were some that had to do with the Actors and Actors Association, because friends were sending me things, and many of us are, because they opened unemployment up to gig workers, independent workers. So there is that, and that saved a lot of people. Could not live without it right now. But I think, people don't, we want to work. I mean, I'm grateful for the money, but it doesn't take the place of the exchange you get from people and working, and the satisfaction of it, and of playing out, and it's not going to take its place. So I don't know the answer to it. I think there are some there's an actor studio, there's a songwriters group that had funds that someone sold to me, but they have a limited amount. So again, I think the unemployment is only supposed to last till July, and then what are we supposed to do? I mean, and it's not like a lot of us are afraid to work a regular job. I mean, we'll go out and work, but there are no jobs right now. I mean, it's like, it's a ghost town of restaurants. I mean, how are restaurants making it? If you I'm sure you drive around and you look at all the businesses, it's like a surreal landscape of closed places where the streets were full of people walking around. Now it's not. So, I mean, do contractors have a place that they can get funds, or do hairdressers have a place they can get funds after July? I'm wondering what's going to happen. But I think as musicians, we can still make music. We just have to find a way to get it out there and make money doing it, and try to be positive about it. And the minute you start feeling sorry for yourself, it's pretty much the kiss of death in anything. So I think if you go, well, yeah, we're doing this pandemic thing, but then again, who isn't? And let's figure out how we can, I've seen people doing block parties now. They're all social distancing, in their thing, and they hire a band, or they hire a musician to play. I mean, think about what you all could do if you're planning a birthday party. Wouldn't it be cool to have music somehow, You could put the musician in the garage or on the patio or wherever, just so that they can share their music, because that's what they want to do, you know. So I
I
hope.
was thinking the same thing, Jody. We have had strange things happen in our neighborhood. We had a food truck come in and wear masks and hand out the food to different families on the street, and everybody used that as an opportunity to stay, 8 feet, 10 feet apart, but to wave at each other and yell at each other and have a semi-party in the street, happy hour while we were waiting for the food truck. But people could have music and be in somebody's driveway down the street,
Yeah, I know people are doing it on the street. They're literally on the street playing, and they have a little PA set up, and people are bringing out their lawn chairs, right? And they're way away across the street, and they're listening to the music. And people are just jonesing for it now. They really need it. Not only do we need the human contact and seeing people who aren't in a square like the Hollywood squares, where that TV show, where we actually need the energy that you get from other people, and that can we do that on the street? Can we find a way to do that? I think we can find a way to do that where we're still safe and we're taking precautions that are necessary. But I think it's good for our souls and our spirit if we find a way to share our musical gifts or whatever it is that you do, so that you can be with your people,
Hey, Jody, I don't want to put you on the spot, but if you remember, there's one of your songs that I just adore, and it's called Calling on Grace.
Yeah.
Can you remember either the lyrics or a couple of lines from that?
Well, I can, but I can't really do it without playing, because I'm somewhat of a savant. It's all connected, but I'll take a rain check on that. When I'm all set up where everything sounds good, then I'm more likely to want to play. But thank you all for asking me, and I'll try to send the link to when I am doing a concert, and I hope you'll come and listen to it or go online and buy the CD. And if you don't buy my CD or come to my online, go to someone who could use a little musical, who wants to share their music with you. And that's the only way we're doing it now.
Yeah. Thank you again, Jody, so much. We'll look forward to hearing you online through your newly released CD, and soon, very, very soon, we hope, in person.
Thank you.
Stay in touch, everybody, and thank you all for joining us today.
Marietta, do we want to share what we're going to be talking about next week?
Well, yes. Melia, do you want to tell us about it a little bit, and I can add some details?
Yeah, and I actually, I sent the flyer to, oh, great. Okay, good.
Oh, so, super.
Right. So one of the things, the Courageous Conversations, the whole premises of it is really having a safe space where we can talk about issues that people are facing, right? And that's really kind of brought on a ramification of this pandemic. And one of the things that we see is there is this rise in suicides that are happening. And so we really wanted to have a conversation about that, in terms of, this is with the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. So the really importance of managing our mental health during this COVID pandemic, and what we can do ourselves, as well as how we can help our peers and our community members and our family, kind of go through this pandemic and still come out of it, because it is a challenging time for a lot of people. So that is actually our next one, which is it's every Friday on June 5th at 3 p.m. And you can RSVP by contacting the office at scinterfaith.org.
And I do want to recommend everyone to tune into that, especially because not only is it important to look out for your own mental health, but for those of the people you love, and to recognize signs of depression, signs of suicidal ideation and such, and to know what the resources are and what the responses might be.
Mhm.
So it'll be a very important conversation. Yeah. Anything else?
No, just thank you so much for, for being a part of this, and thank you, Marietta, for being our kind of moderator. I guess this is our first time that usually we have Pastor Jonas, and Pastor Jonas can join us today, but it was great. So thank you so much, to all of you for being here and being a part of this program and giving your time and being with us.
And thank you to the South Coast Interfaith Council for making this all possible. We're really fortunate and blessed.
Absolutely.
Thank you, guys. Take
Thank
care.
you. Bye.
Stay safe. Stay in touch.
Take care. Go eat some barbecue.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
Order out from a restaurant. They could
There
eat.
you go. Exactly.
Take care now.
Bye.
Bye.